What's up guys, BARRYGAMING here, back with some more Project Diablo 2, and today we're going to go over kind of what I want to call the hardcore variant of our Leap Rapture build here. Now at the core of this, we're still doing the same old with Rapture. We're still sticking with our Rakors. However, we are changing up a couple of our flex pieces to be as tanky as possible. One of them is we are going to be going with a Leviathan Kraken shell. Now we're still going with plus 15 fire damage, minus 15 fire enemy resistances. So you can see right here, we went with like a 25% or 24% PDR physical damage reduction chest here. The goal ultimately is to get to 50% PDR and get as many resistances as possible. We want to be as tanky as possible in this build and have next to 0% chance to die. Now the reason why I went with Leviathan versus something like Shaft Stop is, number one, you are getting 44 strength. That is ED, that is easier to equip your equipment. All that stuff is really nice. The other part I really like about Leviathan is it gives 20% curse resistance. And the fact that we're already wearing Rakors means if we take a look at our resistances here, we're at 40 of 75% curse resistance. You can technically get this up to 50% with a corruption on your Atmas, but I went with a desecrated one that had magic find and, more importantly, the 2% maximum resist for all the resistances. You'll notice here we're at 79 resistances. So if I take a look here, we're at 79 instead of the normal 75. That's because we have 2% on all of these, and then we have a 2% roll on String of Ears, giving us more physical damage reduction. Now you'll notice here we have 40% physical damage reduction written right here. However, because we are already using that the merc that we already have, once we get into combat, which I think you have to go to combat. Nope, you don't. We are up to 51% damage reduction, which is pretty solid. That's actually a really nice number to be at, because there are some things in the game that can lower your physical damage reduction, and this is where I'm at right now. So gloves still the same, just going with some enhanced damage right here. We have one of our rings giving us physical damage reduction with a corruption. All resistance, strength, lifesteal, AR. Half freeze duration is probably one of the coolest things that they've changed in this game in the past couple seasons. 2 half freeze durations give you cannot be frozen, which is perfect because we have a pair of boots that's giving us resistances, dexterity, half freeze duration. It does have like repair, durability, and stuff like that. That's not as important. And then our other ring is going to be a flex ring. Definitely need a find and upgrade here, but this is why I say this build is so flexible. You can go all out damage. You can use like a Cage of the Unsullied if you have some crazy amount of high runes, and throw 6 of these facets in here if you really want to. You can go String of Ears. You can go something more offensive, which is not a big deal. You can go boots. You can go with Goblin Toe. You can go with Gore Rider. You can go anything offensive, or again, go for something very defensive. And the same thing with the rolls on your amulet. You can go for enhanced damage and cannot be frozen on the amulet. That frees your ring spots up and your boot spots up. This build is very flexible in how you build it. And I'm going to go ahead and go through a run real quick so you guys can kind of see how tanky this can be. The map we're going to do is 100%. We're not really dealing with too many issues here. And like I said, the most important stats that we're talking about in this video is the amount of physical damage reduction and resistances we have. This also means that you can kind of do things like Uber Ancients a little easier with less fear of dying, which is really good. All those things really add up for the survivability of your overall thing. So in reality, you don't even really need the facets here. I'll be honest. We were running with topazes in both the helmet and our chest piece for a very long time, and it wasn't that big of a damage difference right out of the gate. Once you're pushing for higher density, you'll definitely want more fire damage overall. But at first glance, like, the facets aren't as important as getting the actual pieces of gear. So it just so happened with my new video card, I had to switch some things around, and you guys might have already seen the first version of this video where this whole gameplay was actually black screen. But what we do have, we're going to go in one of our more dangerous maps that we typically do, because there aren't as many targets to leech off of. We're going to go for the Royal Crypts map, 108%. We're not going to slam it, but it also has Burning Soul. So this is a true testament to see how these extra resistances go and how this PDR goes. We're at 51% as soon as we get into combat with our Act 2 Defiance Mercenary. Now, this is going to be a much more aggressive build as far as the fire damage goes. As far as the raw leap damage, we lost about 1,500 damage on the bottom end and on the top end. So we did lose damage from that. That's not a very big portion of our damage, though. Most of it is still going to be coming from the fire procs, including the Hellmouth. So this should be good. Again, our charms are very, very basic here. If you really want to go for the best of the best builds, you're going to want to go for fire and life. If you want to go for damage, you can also go for things like fire plus fire damage on your actual attacks. Granted, not many of our attacks are actually hitting, so that's usually why I leave them out. Let's just go through this for a couple minutes here. Let's see what it looks like. Because again, this is typically one where I feel like Leap is one of the squishiest, and especially with Burning Souls on it too, I'm intrigued to just see what the damage actually looks like and what the incoming damage looks like as well. So far, this feels pretty good because again, there's always archers off screen shooting at you, there's always Burning Souls trying to hit you, and the fact that we have additional light resistance should be pretty big for us here. And on this map compared to the one that I was previously testing on, there's no immunities, so this should go pretty smooth. And if you guys want to just pay attention of my life underneath me right here, I'm gonna go back later. I'll pick up all the loot. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you guys watch through that. I'm kind of just trying to jump through and get as much aggro on these enemies as possible, being very aggressive with my jumps. You see, my mercenary is taking a bit of damage here, but it feels like our health has barely dropped 100, and that's jumping into some really sketchy situations, including the snakes. We got archers, we have lots of range units, we have, like I said, those Burning Souls are usually a just don't even bother, especially for hardcore players. And in this situation, it really doesn't matter much. You can see how fast and quickly we're just making our way through this map. Are we clearing all the density? No, of course not, but for the sake of speed, that's kind of what you need to go for. Now, if you're tight on resources, you don't have a lot of maps, then yeah, you really have to make the maps you do have worthwhile. But in situations like this where you're like, well, I'm just going for speed. And with my build now, I'm not going with much magic find. We're only getting 155 magic find right here. We're kind of just going for runes and then some lucky drops potentially. Right there we dropped to about 1200 HP, but again, we are filling the HP bar back up pretty quickly here, not having to touch a single potion just yet. Right there, all those archers took us down to about 1300 again, but we were not capped out. All these Burning Souls are hitting us from afar, and we just keep jumping. We just keep jumping, and we let things run through our fire, our fissure, our explosions, our meteors, everything like it. And not a single thing is really becoming an issue for us. We are kind of taking damage, but again, none that are so sketchy that we might die. And then when we get to boss 2, honestly, we could probably just jump on the boss somewhere here in the center and let the souls still attack us. And yeah, our HP is dropping, but like it's not even going down. 1k, 900, 800, like, let's be honest, that if I didn't have all that physical damage reduction and everything, I probably would have had to stop jumping there a couple times and most likely gone back through and like healed, run around, do my melee attacks, things like that. And you can see the density we leave behind. There is, of course, some that drop if you go the fast speed that we are running right there. I'll kind of just run back through, grab the loot so you guys can again see pretty much what was left behind from our kind of leaping. There isn't all that much. Yes, there is some, of course, but there's not much at all. The other thing that's really good with this build too, this build very easily does Uber Ancients as well. One thing that my previous version of this build didn't do well was Uber Ancients. It was very sketchy because anybody who's done Uber Ancients knows it is a ton of incoming damage when you're doing those bosses there. I think I had to use like 3 potions when I did it the last time, so you can see most of the density is dead. Like you can see here, everything kind of died just behind us. There's a couple packs or few enemies here and there that are still up, but I mean overall this does a very good job at deleting enemies. Like you see, I didn't really stop, I didn't go back, I didn't leap on packs multiple times. There's one enemy here or there, and that's kind of about it.
Like, honestly, that's pretty much it. So overall, pretty solid, I'd say. I like the build. I definitely like the build, and the hardcore variant of it that you see right here, mainly because of Leviathan and the string of ears, and of course some really good timed plus 2% maximum resist, just makes this build absolutely amazing. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Apologies for the re-upload. See you guys next time.